Hello there.
After the horrific ending of the Clone Wars that was Order 66 and the dismemberment of the Republic, Palpatine knew that some Jedi would have inevitably survived the dreaded Purge and would have escaped to the Outer Rim. This horrified Sidious for multiple reasons. For one, if the Jedi survived, they could destroy his empire and the Sith for good. And two, as long as the Jedi survived, there was always a chance of someone overthrowing him. As an outcome of this fear, Palpatine created his own band of vicious Jedi hunters, known as the Inquisitors, and placed them under the command of the infamous Darth Vader. There, Vader would task them with the goal of hunting down and killing all remaining Jedi or children who showed any signs of Force sensitivity. And unfortunately, they were mostly successful, leaving only a handful of Jedi still alive. In this video, we will be talking about every Inquisitor that ever served the Empire in both canon and legends. So buckle up. This video is going to be a long one. Starting off our dreadfully long list, we have the Grand Inquisitor. The Grand Inquisitor is an Utapauian male and the highest ranking member within the Order of the Inquisitors. He was the only one who reported directly to Lord Vader and was tasked with the most difficult Jedi to hunt down. Unfortunately, the Grand Inquisitor does not have a name in canon, but we do know before Order 66, he served as a temple guard in the Order. He was even present during the sentencing of Barriss Offee, who bombed the Jedi Temple. After listening to her heartfelt speech of how the Jedi have lost their way, the Grand Inquisitor agreed with her and became less supportive with the Order. After sensing that the Grand Inquisitor could possibly be swaying from the Jedi Order, Palpatine took this opportunity and swayed him to the dark side before Order 66 was executed. The Grand Inquisitor also had an extreme deep hatred of the Jedi librarian known as Jocasta Nu, because he would always try to access the deeper sections of the Jedi archives, but Jocasta Nu would never let him access it. This is one of the reasons Palpatine was able to sway the Grand Inquisitor to his side, by promising unrestricted access to the Jedi archives. So when the day of Order 66 came and the clones raided the temple, the Grand Inquisitor joined Anakin and helped destroy the Jedi. The Grand Inquisitor would then slaughter other temple guards, the very people he served alongside. His first mission as Grand Inquisitor would be to go back to the Jedi Temple and find the lists of all the Force-sensitive children in the galaxy in the archives. But while there, he encountered the very person he hated the most, Jocasta Nu, who had survived the Purge. Regardless of this, though, Darth Vader would handle the situation and battle the Grand Inquisitor, having no idea who he was or what his purpose was. Darth Vader would, of course, win the fight by breaking the Grand Inquisitor's lightsaber in half. But before killing the Grand Inquisitor, Palpatine would intervene and stop him, explaining who and what the Inquisitors were, thus putting Vader in charge of them. After this, the Grand Inquisitor would perform his most chilling act yet, capturing the Jedi Master, survivor of the Purge, Luminara Unduli. Once captured, she would quickly be executed, and a hologram was created of her to make the impression that she was still alive. The Grand Inquisitor would then use this hologram to lure in other surviving Jedi, such as Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger, who hoped to find her after Order 66. His next task would be his most difficult yet. He was personally tasked by Lord Vader to hunt down and capture surviving Jedi, Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger, who have evaded the Empire time and time again. The Grand Inquisitor would have multiple run-ins with the Jedi, and would eventually capture Kanan Jarrus. Rushing in to rescue his master, Ezra Bridger would engage the Grand Inquisitor, but would be pushed off of a platform, making Kanan believe he was dead. Feeling like he had nothing left to lose or nothing else to fear, Kanan would then duel and defeat the Grand Inquisitor, pushing him off of a platform. But the Grand Inquisitor, not wanting to be captured and had a deep fear of Lord Vader, decided to kill himself by falling into the fiery pit below him. After this, he would later become a Force ghost that would haunt Lord Vader indefinitely. But because he was a dark side Force ghost, he was bound to an object and could not freely move around, forever a slave to the dark side. At number 2, we have the Second Sister, or otherwise known as Trilla Siduri. Trilla was a member of the Jedi Order and managed to survive Order 66. Though in a planet, her master Cere Junda would leave her alone when the Empire discovered their hiding spot. Cere hoped to lead the Empire away from them. Trilla took this as a sign of betrayal though. Although Cere successfully led the Empire away, they would capture her and torture her, making her reveal the location of her Padawan, allowing her to be captured and tortured. Unable to handle the torture, Trilla would join the Inquisitors. This gave her the title of the Second Sister. Sometime later, she would be sent to investigate a sighting of a possible Jedi on the scrap world that was Baraka, after a young Jedi called Cal Kestis was seen saving a fellow worker. Cal would manage to survive with the help of Cere Junda, Trilla's former master, and would later come into the possession of a list of Force-sensitive children across the galaxy, the most sought-after item by the Inquisitors. But the second sister would later steal the holocron from them, leading Cere and Cal to the Fortress Inquisitorius in the Mustafar system. Luckily, though, Cal would manage to take back the holocron from Trilla. As a result of that, Vader would become so angry with her that he killed her right in front of Cal and Cere. In her final moments, she would reconnect back to the light side. At number 3, we have the third sister, Reva. Unfortunately, we do not know much about her other than her name, which is Reva, and that she was a Padawan that survived the temple raiding on Coruscant. After being stabbed by Darth Vader, she would go to join the Inquisitors in an attempt to hopefully kill Vader. When her time came, she would fail, allowing Vader to stab her again. After barely managing to survive that, she would go hunt Luke in an attempt to kill him, but would fail. What happens to her afterwards is still unknown, but there is speculation that she is still wandering the galaxy. At number 4, we have the fourth sister, who we know absolutely nothing about other than her being the fourth sister and wielding a lightsaber pike. We also know that she was captured and executed by the Rebel Alliance, who would steal her armor and would later be used by a young rebel who impersonated her and infiltrated Vader's fortress. At number 5, we have the fifth brother. The fifth brother served right alongside the seventh sister, being tasked with hunting down and killing Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger. The fifth brother was considered one of the weaker Inquisitors, even less skilled than Kanan. The fifth brother also developed a deep fear of Darth Maul, otherwise known as the Shadow by the Inquisitors. This is because he was known as an Inquisitor killer before he was being hunted down and tracked to Malachor. He was presumed having to kill multiple Inquisitors. Just like Ahsoka tracked down Maul, he would engage Ahsoka, Maul, and Ezra in a fierce duel, but Ahsoka would manage to damage his lightsaber, making him drop it, and Maul would deliver the final blow, thus ending the Inquisitor's life. At number 6, we had the sixth brother, Bill Valen. Bill Valen was introduced into the ranks of the Inquisitors after the fall of the Jedi and the rise of the Empire. He would go on to abandon his Jedi ways and join the Inquisitors. He was also on the mission to Mon Cala to attack a fellow Jedi survivor known as Farron Barr, and performed well in Vader's eyes. He was one of the few Inquisitors Vader respected enough to duel with him. Unfortunately, though, that would come at the cost of his arm. Before Disney bought over Lucasfilm, this is how Ahsoka would gain her lightsabers, by killing the sixth brother. Unfortunately, though, that is no longer canon. At number 7 is the seventh sister. The seventh sister was also known as a weaker Inquisitor, possibly even being a Padawan while still a Jedi, but she would be strong enough to survive Order 66, many of which other Jedi would fail. Unfortunately, though, would be captured and turned into an Inquisitor. After that, her main task would be hunting down and capturing Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger, eventually following them to the planet of Malachor, where she engaged Darth Maul in a duel. But towards the end of the fight between her, Maul, and Ezra, Maul would force choke her into the air, commanding Ezra to kill her. But Ezra could not bring himself to do it, so Maul did it instead, slicing her in half. Number 8, we have the eighth brother. The eighth brother was sent directly after Maul after his disappearance. The eighth brother would manage to track him down on the Sith planet of Malachor, where he would join the seventh sister and the fifth brother, but also would discover that Kanan Jarrus, Ezra Bridger, and Ahsoka were also on the planet. After being confronted by them, they teamed up on him. Knowing that he was outmatched, he attempted to escape with his flying lightsaber, but his weapon would be damaged by Maul during the duel, resulting on it failing on him and him falling to his death. Coming in at number 9, there is the ninth sister, Masana Tide. After surviving Order 66, the ninth sister was isolated and tortured by the Empire until she cracked, turning herself to the dark side. Due to this, she would later be recruited by the Inquisitors and given the title of Ninth Sister. During one of her lessons with Lord Vader, she would lose her eye, teaching her a great lesson about loss. The Ninth Sister was also present on Mon Cala when Farron Barr executed Order 66 for the second time, and just like the time before, she managed to survive it, and would later join the hunt for Cal Kestis. She would eventually engage him in a fierce duel on Kashyyyk. There she would lose one of her hands to Cal, but remembering her lessons with Lord Vader about loss, she didn't mind and continued on fighting. Cal would then manage to defeat the Ninth Sister in combat, pushing her away. She would later return to Cal on Coruscant and duel him again. During another duel, Cal would manage to slice the Ninth Sister across the chest and would attempt to bring her back to light. Cal would use her real name, and Cal would try to remind her of her past, but flooded with rage and anger, the Ninth Sister would rush at him, but would be decapitated. At number 10, we have the 10th brother, crossed it dibs. Unlike most of the other Inquisitors, the 10th brother was actually a Jedi Master before the Purge. Due to him being a Meraki, he was naturally blind, but had a deep connection to the Force. Close to the Battle of Geonosis, he would befriend Master Windu, and trusted him to accompany him on a special mission to the planet of Hishrik. He'd be happy to join. But while on that mission, he realized that the Jedi had become too dogmatic, were no longer capable of managing to maintain the peace. Due to this, he gave in to the dark side and engaged Windu in an intense duel, betraying his old friend. Mace Windu, though, would emerge victorious. But instead of killing him, he would leave the council to decide his fate. The 10th brother would later be viewed as guilty, but before being sentenced to death, Mace Windu would step in, asking them to spare his life. Because of this, though, he would be put on probation and was sent to work in the Jedi Archives. Sensing his connection to the dark side, Palpatine would recruit him during Order 66, and he was given the title of 10th Brother by the Grand Inquisitor. He was then tasked with going to the planet of Mon Cala to capture a small sect of surviving Jedi students to the Padawan Farron Bar. Unfortunately, Farron Bar would activate Order 66 for the second time, and he would be unable to escape the clones, thus resulting in his death. Now we will be getting to the unnumbered Inquisitors, starting with number 11, Jesura's Master. Unfortunately, this Inquisitor has no name that we are aware of, but we do know she spent most of her time as an Inquisitor, wandering the galaxy in search of Jedi to kill. In one mission, she came across a very young Dathomirian witch, which her name was called Jesura, and was aware that she was extremely powerful in the Force. Instead of killing her or capturing her, like the Inquisitor's code commanded her to do, she took her on as her own apprentice, training her to be an Inquisitor. She did this all without the knowledge of Vader. That leads us on to number 12, Jesura. Jesura was a young Dathomirian witch who showed a strong connection to the Force at a very young age, and always wanted to gain more power, no matter the cost of those around her. She was also a member of the Night Sister tribe called Ni Dipi Night Sisters. After witnessing General Grievous slaughter most of her fellow Night Sisters, she was left as one of the few remaining Night Sisters alive in the galaxy. At her lowest and darkest point, a female Inquisitor would land on the planet, taking her on as her apprentice. Jesura would spend most of her years studying under her master and the clan knowledge crystal. Eventually, though, she would become impatient, not wanting to study any longer. She wanted to explore the galaxy and hunt Jedi occasionally. In result of this, she stole her master's red lightsaber and killed her, before erasing any evidence of her existence. She also went as far as to creating a fake records of another Inquisitor training her. She would then turn to a life of exploration and occasionally bounty hunting. At number 13 and 14, we have the unidentified Twi'lek Inquisitor and an unidentified Red Inquisitor. They both have no name that we are aware of, but they both served the Empire in its early days. One of their first missions was hunting down and killing a surviving Jedi Council member called Eeth Koth. Because Eeth Koth was banished from the Jedi Order before the end of the Clone Wars, he was not around any clone troopers during the execution and managed to survive. Unfortunately, though, the Inquisitors, including the two unidentified Inquisitors, tracked him down the exact moment that his daughter would be born. After dueling Vader in an attempt to protect his daughter, Vader would unsurprisingly beat him in a lightsaber duel and kill him. Unlike Koth, though, his wife and daughter managed to escape the city, but moments before they could board an escape ship piloted by her father, the Inquisitors caught them. Koth's wife begged the Red Inquisitor to not take her daughter. Surprisingly, the Red Inquisitor actually allowed her and her daughter to escape, but it was just a ruse. She would then brutally pull the baby from her mother's arm and escape with it. Koth's daughter would eventually be taken as a very early test subject for Project Harvester, a project that would turn young Force-sensitive children into Inquisitors. After returning from the mission, the Twi'lek and Red Jedi shared a drink in celebration, forming a romantic bond. However, Vader would sense this attachment and would quickly act on it, calling them weak, and attempted to strike down the Red Inquisitor, but to his surprise, would be blocked by the Twi'lek. The two would sprint out of the headquarters, leading Vader on a wild chase. Unfortunately, though, Vader would catch up to them and force them to kill each other with their own lightsabers, and in their final breath, declare that they are finally free. Coming in at number 15, we have the Inquisitors from Tales of the Jedi. We know absolutely nothing about this Inquisitor, other than he was one of the first Inquisitors to join Lord Vader in the hunt of the Jedi. We also know that he was the first Inquisitor that Ahsoka killed, which is how she got her white lightsabers. At our final spot, we have another unidentified Inquisitor. This unidentified Dothraki served under Vader, but We know nothing about how or even if she was a Jedi during the Purge. But there is speculation that she could be a young Jedi called Katuni, because we do not know if she was a survivor of Order 66. That is every Inquisitor that we know in Star Wars canon and legends that served the Empire. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Who is your favorite Inquisitor? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, my fellow Star Wars nerds, may the Force be with you.